It's like lifestyles of the rich and famous, folks. I'm your host, Robin Leach, and I'm going to show you the most extravagant homes you've ever seen in your life on lifestyles of the rich and famous. See, that was my version of it. See, Robin Leach also declared the person at WrestleMania with a title. If you don't remember that, it happened at the imploded Trump Plaza, which also we need to talk about. They got rid of Trump Plaza Casino, which is sad because home of WrestleMania 4 and 5. It just went kablooey the other day. But check this out, folks. Welcome to your favorite show called Larry's New Wrestling Podcast and Stuff. Well, we talk about wrestling, the world of professional wrestling. But most importantly, we talk about stuff. Not most importantly, but we also talk about stuff. Because realize something, folks, you have to find balance in life. So today, I wore it. So I'm wearing a like neck thing. It might be too distracting. So I said, you know what? I'll start out the show with it. And there you go. Voila. Now we have simplicity. And see, I still look quite attractive in my shirt and tie. You don't need the scarf. Sometimes less is more. But don't worry, ladies. I'm not taking my shirt off. I'm just saying. Trying to straighten the tie out. Anyways, back to focus. Now listen to me, my friends out there, and thank you on YouTube, and my friends on iTunes, and my friends, and who knows, it could be family number one. Anyways, the whole point is on Spotify, thank you for your subscribership, your loyalty, your feedback, your comments, everything that you've given us, folks. We'd like you to give us more feedbacks. We like you to give us something, folks, because something helps this guy. If I wasn't so tongue twisted right now, but that's okay. That's called the remix. So basically, what I'm trying to say, folks, please subscribe on YouTube, iTunes, and Spotify. Share this with family, friends, and business contacts. Let them know about this interesting fan perspective of professional wrestling, where we talk about the World Wrestling Federation, the World Championship Wrestling. We talk about old school wrestling, NWA, but we'll talk about AEW and the current World Wrestling Entertainment product, along with the latest in news, sports, and anything that you think is worthy of talking about on Larry's New Wrestling Podcast and stuff. That's what we do here, folks. We give you a chance to reflect on life and wonder how this happened to you. Well, for those that subscribe, you get a notification. There's a new episode of this show. So we hope that you watch them still. And if you don't, thank you for not watching them still. Anyways, the whole point is this. Is there a point? Yes, there is. The whole thing that I'm doing here is promoting something that might be the most interesting experience of your life, or the worst 30 minutes, if you even lasted that long, or more if I go longer. Anyways, there's a dirty joke in there, and I'm going to leave it alone since we're a very G rated show, folks. I want you to allow us to be seen by your kids. So, you parents, if you have kids, show them me and show them what not to be when they're older. That will help them. Trust me. You want to be like this piece of you know what? You don't act like this guy. That was just my accent of some other place. You figure out where. I'll leave that one alone. Because in most states, I'm considered a jackass. In most countries, I've never been. So pretty much that's where we're at. I've never been outside the continental United States. And during COVID, on a serious note, I hope all of you out there are staying healthy and happy, because this thing is something we're still going through. There's different versions of the vaccine. A reliable source told me, my mother, she says that 500 people, she's a very reliable source, by the way, because she's not really doing much. She's at home right now. She's retired and hanging out in Arizona with iguanas and lizards. Anyways, my mother's just chilling. I hope she doesn't get abducted because of me. Anyways, just mom, you're good. I'll send Liam Nielsen if anything happens. He's always he saves people. He's really good. He's English and he saves people. I think he's English. Anyways, see, this is called the stuff part, folks. If you don't understand why you're watching it, it's because You're confused. The whole point of this story is this. Is there a point? Yes. We are going through a very difficult time in our world, COVID. So there's 500 people, my mother says, that there was a vaccine that did the reverse. It did not cure them or prevent them from getting COVID. It actually did the reverse. It took their life. So that being said, I don't know if it really did or not. Anyways, let's continue. So let's talk about this. I'm here to discuss health. Stay healthy, stay happy, have an attitude of gratitude, and be grateful for the fact that we're going to get through this together. But on a serious note, Texas. Oh, that was just like horrible noise because you know why? That's what's going on over there. Weather, bad weather, lots of bad weather. So you think once again, when you're in California, you're blessed. But if you're not, good luck. That's someone else would say. So the weather was like this, man. Definitely, I say man because like well, that's what we say in California. Oh man, I'm glad I don't live in Texas. How y'all doing? Well, you're not doing too well right now because you've had some pretty bad weather that you weren't prepared for. According to your governor, the governor of Texas says, you know what? We weren't prepared for this storm. Yeah, because obviously when your power grid goes out and nobody has electricity, it's a big problem. So be thankful you have electricity. And back in the good old cowboy days, like Back to the Future, 1885, they had to figure out a way to keep warm just because that's just the way they live. So we're very privileged to be living in an era of technology, if you will. And Texas governor says it's his bad that the ERCOT, I don't know how to say it, ERCOT, the Electrical Reliability Council of Texas, ERCOT, is basically being blamed for the failure of the power grid that basically damaged 4.5 million earlier this week. And then currently now 390,000 people are still out of power in Texas. And it's basically been since Monday to Thursday. Well, guess what, folks? That's why the preparation in California for earthquakes, you can never be too prepared because you never know when it's coming. What was that? Oh, never mind. That's just me and the ring of life. I just looked behind me. Because that's what you do when there's an earthquake. You kind of look like, am I really feeling this? Like, whoa! If we have one on the show, folks, is just deal with it. We'll be fine. I'm the one that's in danger. Anyways, you'll be fine. So let's get back to focus. This weather, on a serious note, has actually taken the lives of 26 and 37 nationwide. So guess what, folks? This is something we need to be concerned about. Preparation. So what we're doing on the show called Stuff, we want you to be prepared for every monetary situation. Just like when you go vegan, you just have to have an attitude of gratitude and prepare. So that way your smell is good. So you guess what I'm saying? This is what you do. You prepare all the time for any type of situation. So you use all your senses. You get what I'm saying? Smell. Anyways, that's the whole point. If you go vegan, you have a sensitive nose. Never mind. All I'm saying is this. Be prepared for anything in life. Be prepared for whatever it takes to survive. And know this, we need to send some prayers and some positivity. I have family in Texas. I'm going to actually probably call them after the show. You just reminded me to call my auntie and my cousin who live in Houston, Texas, who says, how y'all doing, California? That's what she tells me on the phone. That's my cousin Patty. She's very loud and expressive, but not really. She's just very determined because she's only 5 foot. I'm finally taller than someone in my family. It was a great moment in my life. I said, wow, you're tiny. I feel big, like buff. Now I am actually buff, though, which is nice. Can't tell by looking at me. Anyways, where was I going with this? Oh, yes. Prayers and thoughts to Texas. Good luck, as I've heard that one before. And may the force be with you, everyone out there, because seriously, this is something that we need to fix. We need to make sure our elected officials know what they're doing and not go, oh, well, it's my fault. Sorry about that. That was my bad Texas accent. So I apologize to those from Texas that actually speak this way. And I'm from California and we speak this way. So there you go. We're even. Well, where is I going with this? Oh, yes. So from Texas, folks, we have to give you more news. It's not the best news, but you know what? This is where the stuff comes in. And then towards the middle part, when you find out that Ric Flair, woo, the nature boy, Ric Flair, he did something you would never believe for a man at age 71. That's coming up on the show, folks. But for you to get to that point of like, woo, you have to stick around because Larry's going through a process called one thing after another, segments, if you will. These are my segments. So in the beginning, I talk about stuff. And then we segue into current wrestling. And then we wrap it up with something from the old school. And today we're going to be talking about WrestleMania 28 from Miami. Okay, the stadium was cracking. Sun Life Stadium, folks, 70,000 plus. Back when we could actually congregate for big events. As my Ric Flair shimmy, and he's going to do it again. And you'll understand why if you stay tuned on Larry's new wrestling podcast and stuff. And once again, folks, what we're doing today is giving you a chance to experience something you've never experienced before. An attitude of gratitude. And even for a man who is an entrepreneur who lived a pretty good life but suffered from a problem, which I have discussed on previous episodes, that I used to drink a lot of alcohol. And as I prepared to tell you the story, folks, it saddens me because this gentleman seemed to have a life ahead of him. I'm basically going to tell you he only had the opportunity to be on this earth for 38 years. The NFL player Vincent Jackson. Now, Vincent Jackson was of the Buccaneers and he was of the Chargers. And they found him dead in his hotel room in Brandon, Florida. And the possible cause was not so sure. They weren't certain. He's retired, and basically he's been retired now for a few seasons. So it really wasn't from recent times. 2018 is when he called it. And I'll tell you, folks, Vincent Jackson is a part of this ongoing battle with CTE that they say that these individuals suffered from some type of head trauma. But the man was very intelligent, but he had acute alcoholism, a chronic alcoholism as a problem. And I'll tell you, chronic alcoholism, I guess I've heard, can be permanent brain damage from drinking. This is coming from the perspective of a guy who changed his life as well, who's still living to this day. And I can tell you, I'm very blessed and happy for a guy who really had some good numbers. I mean, when he started his career, 268 catches, or excuse me, I take it back. When he basically, yes, started his career, 268 catches, 4,236 yards of total passing, and 20 touchdowns. Okay, and then he gets traded over to the Buccaneers, where he was in Florida, where Tommy Boy and his Tampa Bay Buccaneers now won a Super Bowl. It's like LeBron won. Do you see a trend? LeBron won for the Lakers away from the Cavs, and then now Tom Brady. I think sports are rigged. I'm just saying. I don't know. It's just the people that I don't like are winning the championships. Oakland A's, Niners, and used to be the Lakers. All I'm saying is, Estelle, back to focus. We have to realize that a man who was a real estate person, he founded his own companies, several restaurants. He worked to even restore a historic venue. Vincent Jackson was Willie. The people could tell halfway through he got into real estate during his football career. He studied and became a licensed real estate agent. The point of this, it's never too late to change gears. Unless you're driving in snow or wet climates, please drive safely on the roads. No joke. Wintertime is the worst time. Hydroplane, dancing around in the snow, all of it can take place. I've done them all. So please be careful out there wherever you live. In California, it only rains every certain whenever, but when it does rain here, California, that there is danger. Okay, danger. So I can tell you right now, please realize that if you see a loved one hurting and you see pain and suffering within, get them the therapy, get them the help. No matter how successful they are, no matter how good life is, check in. Robin Williams, same thing. Parkinson's, he didn't take all kinds of head trauma, but he took a lot of abuse to himself through cocaine and drinking. And his biggest demon was drinking alcohol. So for those going through it, hey, if we're here to help you get through it, glad to hear. Have an attitude of gratitude. And if you do drink, drink responsibly. I sound like a PSA for Budweiser, but hey, guess what? That's the truth. If you can handle going to a liquor store and buying, you know, at Wigville in Grand Lake, Michigan, all this, anywhere you can go, just get it, wherever you can get it, but get it responsibly, should I say, and use responsibility when you're out there on the roads. But being 2 years plus sober, I am here to say that I'm happy. I'm living my best life. And yeah, sometimes I go all over the place. That's just my brain. And I can say right now, my brain says, I see clearly now the day is come. No, I'm not going to do that to you folks. I don't sing, but because Bert tells me not to sing. Anyways, I won't sing. You can see clearly now. Sorry, bro. I'm going to be a bright, sunshiny day. Sorry, man. It's a fun song. Keep it in the show, Bert. Anyways. Hair's looking nice today, too. All right. Well, let me tell you something, man. With all the certain events in our world, let's talk about pro wrestling. You know, we've arrived to the wrestling part. You know why? It's about to arrive in 9 months, according to pro wrestling. And now, back in the late 90s, for example, we're going to talk about old school, new attitude. No, really, the attitude era. Okay? That's when pro wrestling was really hot, the late 90s. So I guess if you put it in perspective, this is the PG version of what the late 90s did. Okay, now let me explain. Just like Bad Bunny versus Flo Rida. We're going to transition to that after this. Okay, focus. Ric Flair, the limousine riding, jet flying, kiss stealing, wheeling dealing, son of a gun, who made them all cry. Even when there's a 40-year difference in age. Let me explain. Mae Young and Mark Henry had a birthing. I don't know what they're going to do with this story because she's having a real baby. I think she's really pregnant. But they did a storyline way of getting her off camera, and maybe even Ric Flair is going to be off camera for 9 months now. Okay, so Mark Henry and Mae Young have a baby. When this older woman, like old lady, okay, not even older woman, old lady gets pregnant by the weightlifting big buff black man. I just had to say it. Big buff black man and old white lady have a baby. Now, this is late 90s pro wrestling, folks. If you don't believe me, go to Monday Night Raw 1997, and I want you to watch, or whatever year that was, late 90s, there, Mae Young had a baby, but the baby was a hand. It made everyone vomit, and it was just a weird moment in wrestling history, which people try to forget, that Bruce Pritchard and Vince McMahon thought, and maybe Vince Russo thought it would be hilarious. Someone thought it was going to be hilarious that Mae Young births a fake hand out of her, to have a baby. Anyways, the whole point is this. Ric Flair in 2021, last Monday night, they didn't say he was the dad. It's like when they say on Maury Povich, I ain't the dad. You know what I'm saying? That's when they do the DNA test and they reveal the father. And he says, I told you, girl, I ain't the dad. You know what I'm saying? That's when you know that the woman's been sleeping around and you are just one of the victims. Or the vice versa. I don't know. You never know because I ain't the dad. Listen to me, Ric Flair. Keep up, folks. I know you're laughing out there. There's got to be somebody laughing about this. That Ric Flair at 71, potentially now to storyline, not in real life, folks. Let's distinguish because remember, it's a work. We all know it's a show. Okay, the moves hurt. when something goes wrong in the ring, you do get injured. I have permanent hearing damage. So I can tell you right now, it's real. Okay? To a degree. These stories are not so real. Ric Flair did not get a 30-year-old woman pregnant from his wrestling show as a vendetta to get back at his daughter, Charlotte. There. It's a storyline. But when she says on the microphone, I'm pregnant, Ric Flair starts going, what? What? And then in his shirt and tie and suit, woo! And he starts dancing around, I'm the dad, I'm the dad, I'm the dad. Like, wait a minute. Are you saying, Rick, that you, woo, Space Mountain, 71, and we know in real life you're happily married, but 71, and back in the day, you were happily married supposedly, but you weren't really because you had 4 divorces. Anyway, the whole point is he said he paid a lot of alimony. He said it himself. He's like, I paid 4 alimony on 4 wives. He said he's Ric Flair. Woo! You know what I'm saying? But the fact is, he didn't sign the prenup. Woo! Anyways, the whole point is this. Is there a point? Ric Flair's storyline in 2021, okay? On the current Monday Night Raw. That's how they said it back in the day. And then AEW, John Moxley, they're setting up some type of freaking like a barbed wire explosion match. I don't know, man. It's just the Japanese stuff that Kenny Omega wants to do in AEW, and he convinces Tony Khan that this is cool. So John Moxley and Kenny Omega are going to have an explosion match in America, where that's hella big in Japan. But you see, this is our current wrestling. And on top of it, what else we got? We got Bad Bunny. Yes, this multi-platinum Puerto Rican rapper jumping off the top rope, doing a crossbody on the Miz and Morrison, and whoa, baby, that is the current World Wrestling Federation. Like, if was this one in front of like a live audience with thousands in the arena, will we be excited to see Bad Bunny fly off the apron? I mean, Snoop Dogg did it, and I guess that kind of gave me a chuckle. But I guess Bad Bunny is the newest, hottest Latin crossover singer. He's like Shakira, which Shakira was like half Arab, half Latina, whatever, and half confusing because I never focused on their words. I just focused on Shakira going, you know what I'm saying? It's very sexy. Hizza. Anyways, but am I going all over the place? Yes, I am. And we're talking about the fact that Bad Bunny, Flow Rider, was the early version of what I guess the WWE considered cool, I guess. Florida's own Flow Rider, not Florida, Flow Rider. And he would rap for them when they're in Florida for WrestleMania, like WrestleMania 28. Flow Rider was there. He was the one singing right before Dwayne The Rock Johnson comes out to go against John Cena for a once-in-a-lifetime event, which ended up happening the next year again. So I guess it wasn't once in a lifetime. Anyways, but they promoted it that way. Back to focus. We're not done with the current wrestling before we transition into the finale of the show, which is WrestleMania 28. And I can tell you, folks, there's a reason why. It doesn't matter, because we're going to be doing this day after day, week after week, year after year on Larry's new wrestling podcast and stuff. We do this for you, folks. This is why we are here for you. Whether you like it or you don't like it, just like Ric Flair said, woo, you're going to have to learn to love it. I have a baby on the way at 71. Woo! And he's turning 72 actually this month. Whoa. This is the current state of wrestling. Very scary. I don't know if I could have gotten into it as much, but who knows? Never say never. I never thought I'd be able to drive through conditions that I'm not used to, but I did it too. I've done it all, my friends, in my lifetime. So anything's possible in the World Wrestling Federation, and especially in 2021, you have a very popular, trendy Bad Bunny as the 24/7 champion. Now, this is the version of the hardcore title from back in the day, where you can win anywhere in the arena, anywhere in the world, to be honest with you. But they kind of just keep it to the arena now because of COVID. And, oh my goodness, Bad Bunny. I don't know if he's still the champ, but Who cares? It doesn't matter because this is the current wrestling today, folks. Now, do I say any more? Is there anything positive? Well, I guess WrestleMania is going to be in Tampa Bay in front of a live audience. Maybe what I saw at WrestleMania 28 as I reviewed it, I watched the whole show. It's a pretty good WrestleMania. It's from 2012. And actually, I'm going to do something for you folks right now. We're going to transition into it right now. Because I'm done talking about the current wrestling. All it does is make me sad. It's just, it sucks. It's not as good. But I know it would be good if we bring back the managers. Maybe we bring back some feedback from fans that have watched it forever. Because they said they're listening to us now. So if they're listening, I volunteer characters with promo skills, and those that lack promo skills, they get a guy on the microphone, like a Bobby the Brain Heenan, the Jim Cornettes of wrestling, that really entertain you with the microphone skill. Maybe that will compel us to watch because you hype up the wrestler. Just like when Bobby told you about Andre the Giant. You listen to, I can't do it justice. You listen to me, you go to the top. You don't listen to me, you're never heard from ever again. But you say it with so much conviction into the camera that we believe you, that you're the greatest manager in the history of managers. And Andre the Giant, the 7'4", 500 plus pound giant, is worthless without your services. Which kind of sad to say that Andre kind of faded away after he was tired, his body was tired. He only made a few more appearances after that WrestleMania 6 when he turned back to babyface. So we didn't really reap the rewards as a fan of Andre the Giant becoming a good guy again at a WrestleMania. But I can tell you, there's been plenty of WrestleMania moments. And at this WrestleMania, number 28, at WrestleMania 28 in Miami, Florida, where I'm sure that Miami party, and it looked like it from the vignette that they showed during the show, that party would have been the party to be at. I've been to a few WrestleMania parties, but I went to one in Chicago, but I never went to the one. Oh yeah, I caught the tail end of the New York one in 20. So anyways, I've been to a few WrestleMania parties. They're fun. But this one looked really fun. Okay, 78,363 wrestling fans or people who have never seen it but wanted to be a part of WrestleMania because it is the Super Bowl of wrestling. And it's coming up again this year. Okay? WrestleMania this year from Raymond James Stadium. And I want to do it justice. I believe it is number 37. WrestleMania. Because they don't do the number anymore. So you tend to forget. But let's confirm for you. Because it says right here, WrestleMania 37 is a 2-day event on April 10 and 11 this year. Okay? So, 2 days of WrestleMania again, just like they did 2 days last year from the Performance Center. And that's where WrestleMania was held when COVID first started. So basically right now, we are going to have actual people. How many? I believe somewhere in the 20,000 range. I'm not looking into buying tickets. I'm probably not going. That's an expense that I don't want to do right now. And plus, due to safety, is it really safe to be out there during this pandemic? Some people may say no, but they need that live entertainment. I know I've been itching for it. I'm looking for some stand-up comedy venues in Vegas and other places that I'm interested in. You never know where Larry Lawrence, the name's so nice, they named him twice, is going to pop up this year in 2021. Now that sounded so weird again, but we're just going to leave that one alone. Anyways, I'm going to pop up somewhere. Let's just say I'm going to talk about WrestleMania 28 and stay on focus. So this WrestleMania is basically in attendance with a lot of fans in Miami, Florida, where they had a lot of good matches on the card. Lillian Garcia for their lovely rendition in the beginning of the show, singing, of course. And oh, beautiful, for spacious. Anyways, see, I'm not trying to sing bird, but anyways, it's just a quick moment. So we had a lot of matches. And I'm going to get the sheet because I just rewrote everything again. Okay, got to get the sheet. Sorry, folks. It's okay. You just sit there and wait for me while I lack preparation. There you go. Oh, that's the end of the era notes. Oh, there they are. Got a lot of great matches, especially the end of era. I took personal notes on that one. It's going to be an interesting show, folks, because we're going to break down WrestleMania today. And it doesn't matter how long it takes because Dwayne The Rock Johnson is on this show. He actually is the main event of this WrestleMania in 2012. Two generations. John Cena, who debuted during the Ruthless Aggression era in 2002, going against Dwayne The Rock Johnson, who debuted at the Survivor Series 1996. And he transitioned out, that is Dwayne Johnson, out of wrestling a little bit after filming the movie The Scorpion King, because that was his platform to start taking off more towards Hollywood. Okay, The Mummy actually, and then Scorpion King, and then, all that just kind of took him over and basically took him from professional wrestling to being superhuman on the big screen, where he can make chains come together while he's flying to the sky and bring like a semi truck. I don't know. Just watch the movie. My ex made me watch it, the Hobbs movie. He's superhuman Rock. He's not just the Rock. He's the people's champ and superhuman. So, anyways, am I a hater? I know. It's because I'm buff and I don't get to put two trucks together and just hold them by a chain. I'd never be able to do that. I've seen Dwayne and or should I say Rocky meeting The Rock. I've seen that with my own eyes. It was a great moment for me. I was there at the premiere. Rocky Johnson and Rocky Balboa, face to face. I was there the first time they ever met. Just saying. Is there a point to the story? Yes. The Rock is the main event of this WrestleMania. Okay, along with John Cena. But he was the more current guy going against the old school guy in Miami, Florida, where The Rock is built from. He played basically for the University of Miami. And then he's got a new show now coming out on NBC, the Peacock Network, where, you can catch the WWE Network now because the Peacock Network now owns the rights to WWE. So if there is a potential sell of WWE, the McMahon family finally decides to sell it completely, like Hugh Hefner still lived in the house, even though he let go of Playboy. I'm just saying his kids took it over. Anyways, he still got to live in the home even during his old age. And some other guy bought the house. That was the clause in the sale of the Playboy Mansion. Why are we talking about the Playboy Mansion right now? It's because it's called Larry's New Wrestling Podcast and Stuff. So that means, folks, every so often, I may just take you on a detour. Now, this detour goes, and then you basically gets back in a different direction. So if you can't keep up with Larry Lawrence on Larry's New Wrestling Podcast and Stuff. It's funny. If anyone ever wanted to find me, I'm easy to find. I'm Larry. I'm just saying. I'm not trying to get some stalkers because that's scary. But listen, I'm trying to say this much. I appreciate your feedback and your comments. Subscribe. Tell a friend. Please, this is up to you, folks. If you're going to take Bird and my game up to the next level, did that make sense? Anyways, if you want to take our game to the next level, subscribe. Tell a friend. YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, Instagram, Larry's New Wrestling Podcast and Stuff. TikTok, same thing. Twitter, same thing. Send us a following. Send us a like. Send us your not your children. You can keep those. Send us your. It's weird. Now we're going way all over the place. But listen, thank you. Okay, I'm just gonna stop while I'm ahead because you know what? It doesn't matter. We're gonna get back to focus on WrestleMania 28. It's my show. I do what I want and say what I want. Ask Bobby the Brain Heenan. You can't. He passed away. Ask Gorilla Monsoon the same thing. You're talking to me? You can't. He passed away as well. They're watching the show. Thank you for your viewership from above. Everybody gets to be on this show except for the deceased, but we are looking forward to Zooming with those individuals from the World Wrestling Federation, from WCW, from WWE Entertainment, from whatever you want to call it, the AWA. We're reaching out to the USWA people, wherever. Glow, we've already had Glow on the show. We want to bring you these people, folks. We want to give you the best quality entertainment. 5.5 stars because I'm better than 6. Maybe I'll be a lucky 7, or maybe the show is 10 stars, or maybe it doesn't matter. I'm not Gary Vee, I'm not Jim Cornette, but I'm building a brand here that's good for you. And if you haven't listened to other podcasts, you should, because you got to see the options. You can see that I'm not one of the rest, I'm one of the best. So thanks for tuning in day after day, week after week, year after year on Larry's new wrestling podcast and stuff. So, folks, I can tell you right now, we have another match. You blink, it's gone. Daniel Bryan starting the yes chant. Well, guess what he did? He went to bed early because that yes chant wasn't quite what it was supposed to be at that moment. It was the beginnings of it. There's yes signs all over the crowd. But Sheamus gives him the bro kick. And 1, 2, 3. Literally, after he got a good luck kiss from AJ, who ends up marrying CM Punk eventually. It's not like a storyline story, it's real life, folks. CM Punk is married to AJ, who kisses Daniel Bryan on the lips at that WrestleMania. So, and AJ was with also Dolph Ziggler. I've heard a lot of stories, but you know what? We'll just leave it G-rated. Folks, I'll tell you right now, AJ kisses him. Boom! Out. He's out. 1, 2, 3. New World Heavyweight Champion, Sheamus. But that was weird because that Justin guy from AEW now was doing it. So it's not like Howard Finkel's new. But anyways, he still said it. We have a new. Yes. So anyways, that's where never mind. You know, you've heard it a gazillion times. I love Howard Finkel and we appreciate the new. Okay? So, I'm Larry's new wrestling podcast and still, not just new. Anyways, Jericho versus CM Punk. Another great match on WrestleMania 28. Okay, is it at WrestleMania 28 or on? Either way, at the location, Miami, Florida, for the World Wrestling Federation title, which is CM Punk, actually WWE title, let's call it what it was. CM Punk against Chris Jericho break the walls down with the glowing jackets and the lights. They were both in prime shape, but CM Punk says he's the best in the world at what he does. So does Jericho. So it's a confliction of egos. But CM Punk is the over guy because both of them actually are over. Jericho's kind of the face still. He's in between like face and heel. He's like a weird Jericho. He's a bipolar Jericho. He can show like tendencies of bad guy, but then he'll bring it back to good guy. So he's a little bit of both during this time. Because he was really part-time at that point. CM Punk was, on the other hand, full-time, running, their number one guy. I mean, he was the king of, cult of manly. That's his beat. That's his song, the cult of personality. That's his beat. Anyways, he kept that music even all throughout the company, and it's an actual famous song. So go YouTube. Cult of Personality, CM Punk, and you'll hear the song. So there's a better rendition on YouTube than mine, the guy who really sings it. Anyways, where are we going with this? That match was great. CM Punk is definitely still hot even after he leaves. Not like that. Don't get any crazy thoughts. He's still the over wrestler even after he parts ways with WWE eventually, not too long after that. Because he's tired towards 16, 17, 18. And man, those chants of CM Punk, they kept coming in the arenas all over. after he leaves the company. But in 2012, he is a great presence. So this WrestleMania 28 from top to bottom is an amazing one. Now it's WrestleMania 37. You have Drew McIntyre, who's at this WrestleMania, and he's in a big match with Team Laurinaitis against Team Long for who owns Raw brand supremacy. There really isn't like any general managers now on the show because they got rid of them. So really, who's running the show now? That's what's kind of weird about watching Raw now. There isn't really any official GMs, but Adam Pierce is kind of like negotiating matches now. He's like the on-camera presence. He's like the authority figure. And then occasionally Shane shows up to say, "Hey, good job." So they're building something. We just don't know quite where they're going. But it's weird because I think with a live audience, we'd be very confused. So let's hope that they can figure out a way to make WrestleMania 37 interesting because right now we're not as interested, but maybe we are because we want live entertainment once again. So once they allow fans to come back, we'll see how the crowd reacts. Are they going to be half full arenas and then they'll blame saying, "Oh, it's COVID reasoning"? They'll make excuses. But I don't know. Are we going to be interested as fans to go see live wrestling again during this era? I hope so. I mean, this WrestleMania from top to bottom, Big Show versus Cody. Big Show, who always loses at WrestleMania. Like every WrestleMania, he lost. I mean, come on. He's a Big Show. And, I never understood why people. He started out trying to be compared as Andre the Giant. Okay, they said he was Andre the Giant's, like, I don't know. I never said it was like his illegitimate son. But, like, even Bobby the Brain Heenan, I think, even said something about, "I knew your dad." So, like, at one point, they were trying to play like this guy was his son. But Big Show ends up leaving WCW, going to WWE, and becomes like a guy who just goes back and forth between heel and babyface, heel and babyface. They just keep turning the guy. I'm like, make up your mind. Is he heel, a bad guy, a big giant, bad giant? Or is he a good giant, the jolly green giant? Ho, 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 green giant. Anyways, which one are you going to get? Are you going to get the good guy or the bad guy? Okay? Well, anyways, Big Show versus Cody. And then he wins the match. We have a new Intercontinental Champion, the Big Show. Just like we had a new World Wrestling Federation, aka WCW World Heavyweight title. Change with Sheamus. Okay? So this WrestleMania had a lot of belt changes, and you have even Kane versus Randy Orton. And I guess there's a vendetta between Kane and Randy Orton. It had a feel of a filler match, like we needed to fill some time. And this match was okay, but not to the level of Randy Orton versus Triple H. It just kind of felt like a let's fill some time. So we'll skip that. I mean, Kane wins. And an end of an era. Wow. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Let me go back to Laurinaitis versus Teddy Long and their teams. Whoever wins, the brand manager, that's where I was going with this. The general manager becomes the owner, or not the owner, but I guess in charge of that show. So basically, Mr. Laurinaitis, I never understood John. I met John before, I bought him a drink at the bar. I never understood with the hoarse voice, the people's champ, or the people's, whatever he calls himself. The people's champ is The Rock later on. Anyways, people power. That was his thing. People power. You can barely hear. He's got like the smoker's voice. I mean, my voice is interesting, but he talks like, "Hey, I've been smoking for 50 years." They still used them on camera. All I'm saying is there's always hope for me. Back to focus. Teddy Long, former referee, former manager of Doom, former club dancer, I guess, because he likes to do that weird dance. I'm Teddy Long. Holla, 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 player. That was his thing during that era. He was a general manager, and he made himself a presence on SmackDown, which was more the urban shit. You know what I'm saying? I'm from Oakland. I can do that. Anyways, John Laurinaitis versus Teddy Long. Holla, 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 holla. Teddy Long. And they lose. And the most excitement out of that match is seeing a younger Drew McIntyre and a younger Miz, who currently is the Money in the Bank, and Drew McIntyre, who's currently the WWE champ. Seeing different versions of them. And they were on Team Raw and Team SmackDown. Folks, well, I think both of them were on Team Raw. They were like the villainous characters. And they won that match. But you know what sucked? I just wasn't feeling that match because it's just maybe as general managers, it was a boring show. But see, they piled it on WrestleMania. I never cared for the managers because, oh, excuse me, the general managers because, except for when Stone Cold and Eric Bischoff, that was entertainment. Stephanie McMahon and Paul Heyman. I take it back. I retract my statement. Maybe in the early 2000s, that's when general managers were exciting. But in the tens, during this WrestleMania, it just lost its umph. So maybe they'd been going on for too long. And it'd been a long time since the NWO and the WCW and the WWF Attitude Era. So it's kind of like that. This was a very interesting WrestleMania because it had old elements and new elements to it. And then you have the end of an era, which basically had Triple H, Shawn Michaels, and man, Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, Triple H. I don't know. If I was to describe the match, I was just going to focus the whole show on this match. And I didn't because I saw the wrestling card and I said, you know what? It's only fair to talk about this WrestleMania because from top to bottom, I would have been pleased with watching this WrestleMania just because it seemed like the matches were good. Some of the gimmick stuff with Santino. Santino doing a little gimmicky backstage promotion for the deadliest catch. They were eating like lobster, crab, whatever, and just tossing it all over the place. Mick Foley with Sacco and Santino with the Cobra. So like it had a little bit of humor to it too. Like, woo, I'm the dad, just some humor, but not a hand coming out. Oh yeah, and the forgetful part, I forgot to tell you, Maria Menounos even wrestled this WrestleMania from Access Hollywood. She like interviews people on the red carpet, the Hall of Fame. She has a good relationship with them. Well, that's about all I have to say about that moment with Maria Menounos. Okay, moving on. We're going to be talking about the end of an era. Undertaker versus Triple H. This is in a Hell in a Cell. Now, this WrestleMania is the fourth WrestleMania where either Shawn Michaels or Triple H is the opponent. Okay, I'm not doing the Four Horsemen once again like I did on The Price is Right. Four Horsemen, but Ric Flair and the Four Horsemen were a big part of my life and that era of wrestling. So the end of an era, for me, it was good. It was impactful. And I could tell it was symbolic. But it isn't until you watch it now, reflecting on what these three men did for the business, it really tells you that these guys put their blood, sweat, and tears into something they love. And it shows in the ring. Because the way this match unfolds was not like the way that NXT match unfolded, where the referee is asking him, Finn Balor, do you want to quit? And it's because he has arthritic hands, because he's bending his hands ways you're not allowed to in the ring. In wrestling, it's illegal to bend your fingers this way or that way. It's not UFC, but in this match, for some reason, in NXT of 2021, it's permitted to bend fingers in a weird way. I was kind of thrown by what I saw on the pay-per-view, at NXT pay-per-view. Oh my goodness. I hope we fix a few things, folks. But this WrestleMania, which had Triple H, it had The Undertaker, it had Shawn Michaels. I mean, they're in charge at NXT now. Triple H and Shawn Michaels. I don't know why they're letting some of this stuff happen. Maybe because they know the current fan doesn't care. But from my perspective, if they were ever have me in a meeting, I'll tell them, look, man, just go back to the old school when you guys wrestled, and us fans might appreciate it more again. because we want that. We want that wrestling. Hey, watch the show WWE Suits, AEW Suits. Get some pointers from the fan. Get some pointers from us who want to see what we like. We like, we don't want to hear Ric Flair's getting someone pregnant. That's not, I mean, it's, the Attitude Era was edgier, at least if Hand came out. This one's kind of like, man, whatever. Ric Flair, what do you use, Viagra? Cool. You know what I mean? It's just not exciting. But when you hear that guys who were in a Hell in a Cell taking, like, they just put it all out there, man. But it started at WrestleMania when Shawn Michaels wants to beat the streak. And then from that WrestleMania, you go with the rematch where it's streak versus career at the next WrestleMania, which is 26. So start at 25, greatest match that Jim Ross said he called between those two guys. Then it transitions to the rematch where Shawn Michaels retires at 26 in Arizona, which I was supposed to be there live. Then it goes to 27. Where's 27 at? I'm drawing a blank now. Anyways, it was Undertaker versus Triple H, regular match. I don't want to say New York. You know what? Let's cheat. Who cares? Let's cheat because I want to be accurate on locations. WrestleMania 27, where was that at? That was currently at, well, not currently, but it was at Atlanta, Georgia. So in Georgia, for that one, you had Triple H versus Undertaker. And then the year after, Triple H and Undertaker again. So it's kind of like DX trying to end the streak. But it's two guys, two separate gentlemen, both of them a part of a trifecta: Undertaker, Triple H, Shawn Michaels. And do they deliver? Good old JR and Michael Cole and JR have this little riff. But anyways, it's because Michael Cole is playing a bad guy character. It wasn't a good one. Anyways, Jerry Lawler, Michael Cole, Jim Ross, Cole, and Jim Ross is semi-retired now. So he says he's very proud. I think he had just lost his wife too, due to a car accident, a tragic. She drives one of those low motor scooter things. I guess the car hit her and killed her. I don't know, something like that. But it's sad because he said that was his angel. But he comes down the ring, and I could be mistaken, but I believe that was the match he called right after she passed away. And he's back, and they welcome him with open arms because he'd been through so much. Or it might have been a future WrestleMania. But either way, JR was happy to be there. And he says he's proud because he's called these guys careers. And he's proud to be there. And he said at the end of it, after 4 decades of wrestling, 4 decades, that was the greatest thing he'd seen. Can you believe that? That was what Jim Ross says about this match. So that should tell you, folks, if you're looking to watch a great match, if you're interested in learning about wrestling, watch Undertaker versus Triple H, WrestleMania 28, Shawn Michaels, special guest referee, and he says, I have the power in the palm of his hand to control the career and or basically just end the streak and end the Phenom streak at WrestleMania. He has the power. And Triple H didn't put his career on the line, but Triple H definitely gave us, is this the last time? Are we going to see both these warriors in the ring? Jim Ross brings it to our attention. Even a semi-retired wrestling announcer makes you feel, not like the silence you hear of today's era, where we don't hear commentary. There is a point when Michael Cole and JR are quiet during The Rock and John Cena's match. And I tell you, I've never been a fan of quietness, but there are moments at the end of that match too. There is time for quietness to absorb the dialogue, the drama of this match. So when it's done properly, silence is not a bad thing, except for this show, because then you'll be listening to no air. We call it in show business dead air, but I don't like to say dead unless we're talking about, oh yes, The Undertaker, the dead man. And I can tell you right now, this match is worthy of of an episode by itself, but I decided to tell you right now. I'm going to include it with a summary because we don't want to go for hours, but I'll tell you right now, this match has sledgehammers, it has drama where Triple H makes a comeback. He beats the hell out of The Undertaker. He leaves him bruised, the physical bruises. People say it's fake. Watch this match. There are bruises all over The Undertaker's back from a steel chair, repeated steel chair to the back. Okay, Triple H gives it to like this, steel chair, steel chair, steel chair. Okay, repeatedly until Shawn Michaels tell him, does he quit? Does he quit? And Undertaker keeps grabbing Shawn Michaels by the shirt, says, do not do it. Don't do it. Don't call for the bell. There's plenty of times that Shawn Michaels goes like this, puts his hand in the air and wants to ring the bell. But no, he doesn't do it. He doesn't break the streak. But The Undertaker does one thing. He gives us drama. Triple H, he gives us drama. There's kickouts and sledgehammers. And Shawn Michaels cringing in the corner, quivering, because he doesn't want to count the shoulders of either his friend, Triple H, or his, I guess you could say, soldier, his co-soldier, his buddy and his war buddy. Because obviously Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, and Triple H were part of the Attitude Era. They're part of a generation of old school. That's why The Rock's on this one too, which is true. The only one that isn't wrestling is Stone Cold Steve Austin. He's pretty much retired at this point. He doesn't even show up at this WrestleMania. It was already star-studded, but there's no Stone Cold Steve Austin at this one that I'm aware of. I thought I watched it clearly, but I can guarantee you, because you usually know when Stone Cold's there. But the Four Horsemen go into the Hall of Fame. Yokozuna goes into the Hall of Fame. Okay? This is a very big event at the end of the era match. Tells you right now, before I start talking about the Hall of Fame and who's in it, you have a stellar match of kickouts, sledgehammers, even the crotch shot suck it. You have that all in one match. Okay? Right there in the corner. And then sledgehammer to the head. Finally, the tombstone. And the match is over. But the drama in this match is one of the most amazing. It's like watching a movie, because as the cage even lowers, they got Metallica jamming. Okay, Metallica is playing on the loudspeakers at a 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70,000 plus event, folks. It's like they're playing right there live, folks, at Sun Life Stadium in Miami, Florida. But no, The Undertaker versus Triple H with Metallica playing over the loudspeakers. They should have been there, not Flow Rider. Anyways, Flow Rider is at the end with John Cena and The Rock. All right. But let's transition into also the Hall of Fame. Edge had to retire early due to injury, which we know this year he's back at WrestleMania 37 and he's got the money in the bank. Can you believe it? At this WrestleMania, he retired. 28. He's inducted into the Hall of Fame. Okay? And Edge, you can see the emotion in his eyes. He doesn't want to retire. He had to be forced out of what he loved. Now, he's back. And he's ready for possibly becoming, which he probably will, the new World Wrestling Federation. I don't know what title he's going for yet. I don't know if he's even declared it. WWE title, NXT title, or Universal title. Drew McIntyre, I think, is probably a possibility. But no, I think with Sheamus, they're not going to do that. I think maybe he is the ultimate opportunist, though. But he doesn't have to with this. I just hope they don't give Miz the title. Or maybe they'll make him try to cash it in at WrestleMania. And Edge will beat him 1, 2, 3. Because they wouldn't give Edge the title to have him lose it to The Miz. I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to have Edge win the title against Roman Reigns. Miz tries to cash it in. And he gets beat as well. That's my prediction, folks. You heard it here first on Larry's new wrestling podcast and stuff. So the Hall of Fame is Rikishi accepting for Yokozuna, but then the kids end up being out there. You have Ron Simmons. Damn! You have Edge as the main event. The Four Horsemen would have been my main event, but Edge is the focus. And Mil Mascaras and Iron Mike Tyson doing his DX chops like that. All are inducted into the Hall of Fame. And Edge has sacrificed, and I hope he does get it. Because I guess at age 47, it's never too late. It's never too late to accomplish. It's never too late to go vegan. It's never too late to do anything that your heart desires. And this WrestleMania teaches you that. Number 37. But at 28, we saw someone riding off into the sunset. So I find it very symbolic on Larry's new wrestling podcast and stuff that we're talking about Edge becoming a new champ in 2021. Now, before we wrap it up, folks, we have to talk about the last match. John Cena against The Rock. But that send-off, that the end of the era match, I think that should have closed out the night. But because it was Miami, because it was John Cena, and I have a source back then, I was talking to someone from Crime Time who was working for the product, and Jay would tell me that there was some actual live friction between The Rock and Cena during that time. So backstage, they really didn't like each other. So this match had some real tension to it. It's two different egos. One from Hollywood, who eventually ends up going to Hollywood, Mr. Cena. But I guess we should hope that there's no ego there, right? You Can't See Me and Dwayne Johnson, both future Hollywood stars, are the main event. The once in a lifetime. And it would rematch the next year's WrestleMania, where World Wrestling Federation champion The Rock drops the belt to Cena and says, that's the man now. So you have a different result this WrestleMania from Miami, Florida. You still get the let's go Cena, Cena sucks. You get those chants. You get The Rock's fans, but there's a trickle. I think it was because he was just coming back to do a match after being gone for so long. And some of the fans were okay with that. But a lot of fans were mad because it was Miami, he got a lot of cheers too. But I think the crowd was the hottest during the Undertaker Triple H match. And I think that should have been the end of the night. But that's not the way it was booked. To make a long story longer, this match is good because eventually the crowd does get into it. And finally, by the end of the match, you have no titles on the line. You just have mono versus mono. Best man wins. Cena gets arrogant this match, very cocky, because he thinks he's got The Rock ready to be defeated. And as soon as he slips, John Cena gets caught. Mr. John Cena always wins, right? Wrong. In Miami, Florida, where The Rock is from, Dwayne The Rock Johnson is triumphant. And he puts his hand up in the air and he does the Superman pose and he closes out WrestleMania 28. Now, folks, I can tell you it was a very interesting ending because John Cena is sitting on the floor with his hand on his head in shock and disbelief that he just lost to Dwayne The Rock Johnson. And they were talking a bunch of smack back and forth to build up for this match, whether it was via satellite or in person. I don't even know if they really were ever really nose to nose many times during that time frame because Dwayne The Rock Johnson was a Hollywood star, so he would show up whenever he could. And I think that was John Cena's big thing, was saying, hey, movie star, if you got some balls, show up. So that's the way they played it. And it unfolded at that WrestleMania. So from top to bottom, This show, I would say, is a 4-star out of 5-star WrestleMania. So that's my critique on this show. And if you have any comments about what I've said today, feel free to subscribe. And you too can join us on Larry's new wrestling podcast and stuff. I hope you had fun. I hope you enjoyed my WrestleMania 28 coverage. And it's WrestleMania season, folks. Elimination Chamber coming up to find out potentially where we go. So once we come back next time, you'll probably get a review of that. We'll get a review of what's going on with our weather, because I'm your sexy weatherman like David Letterman was back in the day. And I love Dave Letterman was a weatherman before he was the most famous late night show talk host in the history of talk shows. We used to do games on my tour bus. And we play, May We See the Item You Purchased, Please? Where we would go down Rodeo Drive. Not Rodeo, right? No, it's Rodeo, folks. It's not rodeo. Anyways, but the rich people. It's like Beverly Hills has a Michigan and it has a California. Or vice versa. California and Michigan have a Beverly Hills. Whatever way you look at it. All I'm saying is this, is that anywhere you go and everywhere you go, there is something that you can realize. You never know what you're going to get on Larry's new wrestling podcast and stuff. Everyone out there, have an attitude of gratitude. Enjoy the rest of your week and your rest of your month and the rest of your year. Thank you for tuning in. I'm going to send it off simply like this, folks. As we go through ups and downs, anything we go through, do you believe that you can make a difference? Do you believe that you can make that change? Well, I did. And I'm happy I'm here to share with you a great podcast. But remember, it's because our life is whatever we make of it. Let's just go out there into the world today and do me a great big favor. Don't just do it for me. Do it for yourself. Go vegan! Our life is whatever we make of it. Just go out there into the world today and simply make it a great one. Thank you all. We'll see you soon. Thank you, my friends. Thank you. Thank you. I love you, my friends. Okay? Shukran Habibi. I'm out. Okay. Okay. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye.